Over the past 4 months, NATO has been flexing its muscle. It's deployed thousands of soldiers and heavy weapons along Russia's border in what the annual report calls the largest reinforcement of collective defense since the Cold War. NATO calls it a response to Russia's invasion of Crimea and destabilization of Ukraine. And it's meant both as a warning and a deterrent. NATO's Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg.
What NATO does is defensive, it is proportionate, and it's measured because we don't want a new Cold War, we don't want a new arms race.
But for Russia to take the deterrent seriously, NATO has to be united. That is, the basic pact has to hold. If one country's attacked, all the others have to come to its defense.
So NATO, we are paying a
On the campaign trail, Donald Trump said he'd be reluctant to defend countries that hadn't paid their fair share toward collective defense. And just last month, Trump's new Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, went to NATO headquarters with what can only be described as a mixed message.
It's a fair demand that all who benefit from the best defense in the world carry their proportionate share of the necessary cost to defend freedom.
The NATO guideline says members must spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Right now, of 28 NATO countries, only 5, including the U.S., do that.
When Secretary of Defense Mattis said that if the NATO allies didn't, in effect, increase their spending, America might moderate its support of NATO, what did he mean?
He meant that it is extremely important that European allies invest more in defense. Just a few of them are now meeting the guideline of spending 2% of GDP on defense.
But what did he mean by America might moderate its stance? How did you read that?
Well, I think you have to ask him exactly
what... you must have asked him.
The way I understand it is that, of course, there is a limit for how long the United States is willing to guarantee the security of Europe if not the Europeans are also stepping up. And that's a clear message. And I think everyone here in Brussels and in Europe understood that message.
Did you welcome it because it amounted to pressure?
I think it's useful that the United States so clearly convey what they expect. But at the same time, this is not just about the US asking Europe to do more. This is about 28 allies from Europe and North America sitting around the same table in September 2014 and agreed together to invest more in defense. 2 world wars and the Cold War have taught us all that stability in Europe is also important for the United States.
The Secretary General stressed that he had no problem with Washington's message, Elaine. But what about Moscow? There is a danger that this U.S. pressure on NATO countries to pay more or else could be seen by the Kremlin as a sign that the alliance that has held Western democracies together ever since World War II is showing some cracks.